This is the Great North Wrestling Podcast, the official podcast of the Hannibal TV, Canada's #1 pro wrestling YouTube channel, with your host, three-time Canadian champion and GNW lead reporter, Devin Hannibal Nicholson.
This is Hannibal from thehannibaltv.com, and it's a very special podcast here today for the Great North Wrestling Podcast. It's a kind of a countdown show for Super Fight Sunday, which is this Sunday, August the 26th, at the Robert Hartley Arena in Hawkesbury, Ontario, located exactly halfway between Ottawa and Montreal, not too far from Cornwall either, if you're looking to come from Cornwall. So I would highly suggest everyone come out to this event for all the reasons we're going to talk about today. More information, I'll say right away, is at thehannibaltv.com. But let me bring on the special guest today. He is a two-time Great North Wrestling Canadian champion, and he's actually the longest reigning Canadian champion in Great North Wrestling history, Jeremy Prophet.
Yep, really glad to be here. And, I appreciate that intro that you gave me, saying I'm a two-time Canadian champion. I would have liked for you to say two-time, possibly three-time champion after this Sunday, because I will be competing in the Battle Royal to once again become Great North Wrestling Canadian champion. And I tell you what, folks out there, if you're listening to this right now and you're of the betting variety, I think I'm the odds-on favorite going into that match.
I actually forgot that you were in the Battle Royal, and I agree you have a great chance for that. Definitely you have all the skills it takes to be Canadian champion again. You've only been improving over the years. But you also have a pretty good record in Battle Royals with Great North Wrestling. And we'll see what happens. Anything can happen. I don't really have a favorite for the Battle Royal, but why not? Let's get into the Battle Royal right away. Almost everyone on the card is in the Battle Royal. Wes Briscoe, Nathan Banner, the Crow, the Predator, the Bruiser, Jebediah Tatum, the Green Phantom. So many of these two big guys from the United States of America. They claim they're the best tag team there. The House or something. Do you recall their names? I saw their promo. You can look at it on The Hannibal TV. But these guys have to be over 300 and I would say almost 400 pounds each. Yeah,
they're definitely two big bastards, as I like to say. Pardon the language, but these are two huge men. And a Battle Royal, you got to look at these kinds of guys and think, these are the guys we got to get out first. Because if it comes down to me and one of them, I'm going to have a harder time. As talented as I am, I'm going to have a harder time throwing one of them out of the ring than they are throwing me out. So, yeah, being big and strong, it's an advantage in wrestling in general. But in a Battle Royal environment, you kind of become a target when there's that many bodies, and these are the ones that are standing out. So, I don't want to give away too much of my strategy, but when it comes down to it, I think alliances might form. And while they might seem like a threat at first, the pack mentality will often gain the advantage, and who knows? I got to have eyes in the back of my head being in there. I got a match with the Green Phantom earlier in the night. Not to be taken lightly. We're going to take a lot out of each other. He's undefeated in
Hawkesbury, isn't he? I don't think he's ever been beaten in Hawkesbury.
That doesn't mean much to me. I faced guys who were undefeated before. Canine was undefeated until he faced me, and I sent him off into retirement.
Yeah, he only wrestled I think once more after that, and then he was done.
Yeah, he stepped into a cage and he got half of his ear knocked off and a massive concussion.
Against Preston Perry, actually, who's also going to be in the Battle Royal.
Yeah, and you're going to have eyes in the back of your head being in there. That's what I plan on doing. See, my strategy most of the time when it comes to Battle Royals is to maybe form a few alliances, talk to guys before the match is going on, say, hey, look, if we watch each other's back, then there's a good chance it comes down to us and may the best man win. Also, I try to stay near the middle of the ring. We've seen guys like Lanny Poffo in Battle Royals kind of, around the ropes, flopping around. I know you enjoyed watching Lanny.
I think did a Bronco Buster, actually, in one Battle Royal.
I think that was actually in Hawkesbury that happened.
He actually, the Battle Royal to crown the first ever Canadian champion was actually in Hawkesbury, and Lanny Poffo won it. I will give him credit for that.
Yeah, and like I said, a lot of my strategy is to stay near the middle of the ring. because there no one can throw you out. Everyone's so busy trying to throw people out, expending energy, they don't realize that being in the middle, you're conserving energy and you're not at risk of being thrown out. Now, am I going to do that this time? Maybe I will. Or maybe I have a few other tricks up my sleeve that I'm not going to mention. But either way, it's a battle royal. It's everybody on the card. Some have wrestled. Some haven't. Some have an advantage. Some don't. So you get a little bit of everything in battle royals, and I think that the fans are definitely going to get their money's worth with this one.
And in the last time I saw you in a battle royal, you were eliminated second last. That was for the world television title last year. And Wes Briscoe actually won that battle royal using some unusual tactics, but he's going to be in this one again. So if he holds on to his title in the match against Nathan Banner, he's already been Canadian champion too. He might actually hold 2 titles, which has never happened before in Great North Wrestling.
It could. It very well could. And I mean, he was crafty in the last one. He devised a great scheme. I thought he had both feet on the ground. He clearly only had one. If you fans want to see it, I'm sure you can go on to the Hannibal TV and see exactly what took place, all that chicanery that he did. Nonetheless, I mean, yeah, maybe there's a bit of a score to settle there with Wes Briscoe, but he's got a lot on his plate already and having to deal with Nathan Banner. I don't think he's going to come out of that unscathed. Last time we saw those two dealing with each other, he was face down in a shower, if I'm not mistaken. Again, you can see that on the Hannibal TV as well. And I think that match is
Speaking of that, one quick comment here. I have to point out, I do read some of the fan comments on the Hannibal TV, and one comment that actually made me laugh hysterically was as the camera zoomed away and Wes is left lying with his pants halfway down in the shower, someone commented, and now Pat Patterson walks in.
Oh, can we even say that on this podcast?
What? Pat Patterson walks in. What's wrong with that? His father, Gerald Briscoe, and Patterson were the Stooges. But anyways, back to what you were saying. Sorry to digress.
Maybe there might have even been a precedence for this kind of thing.
Who knows? But yeah, that was a brutal attack, and they actually started their feud in Hawkesbury 2 years ago, just about. And in that particular match, I believe it was a best 2 out of 3 falls, which I think Wes won. I think they each scored a pinfall, and Wes got the victory in the end. So it was interesting.
Well, to me, it's very interesting that they're having this match, especially with their long, storied history, because I think if Wes Briscoe can get a win here, he'll finally, put an exclamation point on this chapter and be able to move on. I think that if Banner wins, obviously, depending on the way that he does win, Wes Briscoe may be owed a rematch. But if Wes can pull off the win, then I think it's pretty conclusive that he's done away with Banner and has got to move on to other things. In fact, from a personal level, I'd like to complain a little because, I never got any kind of a title shot after what happened in that Battle Royal. And I think that, I owe Wes one that should have been delivered to him sooner rather than later. But that's okay. I'm a patient man. Nonetheless, I think he's got to exercise his demons with Banner first and then move on to better things.
Exactly, and you could complain to the president and the commissioner and the rest of the championship committee about that, which both of them will probably be at the event, so you could complain right there. And Banner, of course, he has beat Flash Funk recently. He holds some victories, I think, in the past in other federations over Jay Lethal. He's wrestled for Pro Wrestling 01 in Japan, and he actually eliminated Tony Atlas from Great North Wrestling permanently in the last event, and he also, I guess, eliminated Dark Cash. Dark Cash still isn't going to be healed up in time to be in Hawkesbury this Sunday by the sounds of it. So Nathan Banner took out 2 people. He had Tony Atlas actually throwing up, vomiting. He had to go to the hospital after the match. He had received too many blows to the throat and kicks to the throat. And I haven't heard of him wrestling since, so that may very well have been Tony Atlas's retirement match. We just posted the full event video from Pembroke that you could check out on the Hannibal TV. Jeremy Prophet scored an impressive victory there over Ad Hutchinson. So it's going to be an interesting match, Banner versus Briscoe.
It definitely is. And you bring up the Tony Atlas incident. I got to say, when I saw that happen, I really felt that Banner went too far. It's one thing to beat an opponent, but then to go beyond that, to want to try to end their career, that's stopping somebody from making their livelihood here. So I have to admit, I haven't had words with Banner since that happened, and I was a little disappointed in how far he went. This would be the first time
you and PCO stopped it. Now that I think of it, you guys had to run out to stop the beating.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was more going out there because I don't want to see a guy I consider a friend in Nathan Banner do something that's going to result in, not just him being sanctioned by Great North Wrestling. I mean, it was getting to the point where it looked like the authorities were going to have to get called in to stop that kind of a thing. I didn't want to see something bad happen to him criminally. I think he went way too far. Those were practically criminal actions. And so I was trying to knock
fined $500 for it, and he was told by the president that if he touches another Great North Wrestling official, he is going to be suspended. So I think he's going to have to clean up his act for this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I appreciate from our president, that he's laying down the law. You can't have people acting this way. I understand it's professional wrestling. Tensions are running high. It's a testosterone-filled environment. And I don't just mean max testosterone here, but it was a testosterone-filled environment. It's very volatile. So someone's got to keep tabs on what's going on, and you can't be doing things like this. So hopefully when they step into the ring again, it's going to be more about sportsmanship, competition, and not these kinds of dastardly actions.
And I would just like to publicly thank the president right now for getting rid of PCO from Great North Wrestling. He was rightfully suspended for hitting me with a garbage can. I know you felt those garbage cans. These are steel garbage can. It must have weighed 40 pounds. Bashed me over the head. I still have a mark on my face from it 2 months later. And then 2 events in a row putting his hands on Great North Wrestling officials. I had the match won. I had PCO pinned numerous times in that match. But because he had hit the officials earlier in the match, the officials weren't there to make the pins. And then after he gets disqualified, he throws a tantrum and starts throwing officials around. And he was warned, and now he's suspended indefinitely. So I'll commend this president for finally making a good decision.
Yep, and I mean, that's the way things need to be. There needs to be law and order established in the world of professional wrestling and here in Great North Wrestling. When it comes to PCO, look, there's no love lost between he and I. I respect him. I respect all his accomplishments, his in-ring ability. But he went too far, and he broke the rules, and you do the crime, you got to do the time. And if it just so happens that him not being there gives me an opportunity in that Battle Royal to become a 3-time champion, then that's fine by me too.
And he's spending all of his time now, from what I understand, since losing the title. I don't know if it's his basement or this friend of his, and just doing bizarre stuff in there. So I think he's truly lost his mind, and that began the night that he lost the title. But we'll just touch on this quickly, and then we'll jump into the Women's Championship of Canada match. We'll touch on my kickboxing exhibition 3-round match against Maximum Testosterone, and this is going to be a brawl-for-all style kickboxing exhibition match, not going to be a professional wrestling style match. And I predict that it will be very entertaining, very brutal, and I predict that Hannibal will be declared the winner, and that's all I'm going to say on my part for that match.
And I will also add that I am very, very excited to see that match. I think that he matches up quite well against you. He's got a little bit of size on you, and I think he's got a bit of a strength advantage as well from his years of strongman competition, not taking anything away from you, but, he made his living doing strongman, strength, powerlifting, whatever you want to call it. And so he does have some skills that he brings to the table that might put you a little under duress in there. I know you have more of the fight experience. You have the wrestling experience, kickboxing. It's a whole new game, and it involves definitely other skills other than being able to grapple and use your strength. But I have to say that it's probably going to be a pretty close fight. But just so you know, I am going with you if I'm a betting man.
Well, I think you might keep your house on this one, and we'll jump right into the Women's Championship of Canada match, which we were actually talking about before we went on the air here tonight. Lady Yasmin, who I must say, I was watching the Pembroke match. I will give her credit for one thing. I do believe she has the nicest hair of any woman in professional wrestling. I noticed that when I was watching her match today. I don't know if she's going to have any hair left after she steps into the ring with Jordynne Grace this Sunday, but she has held that title for over a year now. She's had numerous opponents back out and actually chicken out from fighting her, not just back out, but her last opponent in Pembroke actually chickened out from fighting her. I won't even give her the publicity to say what her name was going to be, but I will give Yasmin credit for that.
Yep, definitely. You got to give the devil her due when it comes to how she's been able to hold on to that championship. But to me, this feels kind of like a little Cinderella story that's nearing the midnight hour. I mean, for any of you who haven't seen Jordynne Grace, Google her. Go on YouTube. Go on the Hannibal TV. Listen to her talk. This girl is serious business and probably brings a bigger threat to the table than any of the other opponents that Yasmin has had and any opponent that she was supposed to have. I mean, this girl, first of all, she's got the size. I personally think she's got the speed advantage on Yasmin, too. She definitely hits a lot harder. And Yasmin, I hope you're listening to this podcast. If you're not, shame on you. Shame, shame, shame. If you are listening to this, good. Take advice. Take a notepad. Write this down. These are all the attributes this girl has that you do not have, and you'll need to somehow figure out a way to win in spite of all these things. So she's got the size. She's got the speed. She's got the hard hitting. I think overall she's more athletic, and she's got a mean streak. So how does Yasmin combat someone with all of those things? It's nice to have pretty hair. It's nice to have flashy gear. It's nice to be able to have the fans on your side. I like having the fans on my side. I don't need the fans on my side. But I wonder, what does she bring to the table that's going to help her to keep that championship? Is she going to be able to prove me wrong, to prove the detractors wrong, to prove Garmami wrong, to prove everyone else who sees through this Cinderella story? Or, will it be the predictable outcome to someone who's already a multiple-time champion in this sport, going in, wreaking havoc, and walking out victorious?
Well, Yasmin, I'm not saying Vanessa Craven is at Jordynne Grace's level, but Vanessa Craven, who was in the Mae Young Classic, has lost in 2 matches to Lady Yasmin. So those are 2 predictions I definitely wouldn't have had. Jordynne Grace, I believe, is way more intense and hard-hitting than Vanessa Craven.
Okay, but I will, not to cut you off, but I will see that point and I'll raise you this. When she faced Vanessa Craven had no idea who Lady Yasmin was. She was in the early stages of her career. You couldn't find any videos of her. You couldn't find anything to scout her or know what it is that she does. I heard Jordynne Grace's podcast where she spoke with you. She knows who Yasmin is. She's seen her. She's heard the hype, all of that, and she's coming in here to beat her. She knows what she's up against, and I think she's going to execute an excellent game plan to defeat Yasmin, and I think we're going to have a new GNW Women's Champion come Sunday.
Well, I think the fans are in for a treat. There could very well be 3 new champions on Sunday. You never know, but Yasmin has pulled off some impressive victories, and because she's the most popular women's wrestler in Great North Wrestling history, I may not like her on a personal level always, but I hope she can pull off the victory. But Jordynne Grace is a force to be reckoned with, and I wouldn't bet any money on this match because it's a scary thing for Yasmin, actually, to think about it.
I tell you, I watched some footage of Jordynne Grace. I've seen the things that she can do in there. I have to question not only if Yasmin has the intestinal fortitude to win this match. I can see this girl just steamrolling right through her. I mean, people might be expecting some kind of big epic match. This thing might be over before it even begins.
Well, we're going to find out only in a couple days. What about Jebediah Tatum's rematch here against the Bruiser with this mysterious pretty boy Gary in his corner? This guy's come out of nowhere here, and he's a unique individual, to say the least.
Well, I don't begin to use any of my, intellectual fortitude to try to understand anything involving the Bruiser. I mean, he's a weird guy. You and I talked about it off the air. He kind of marches to the beat of his own drum, and this is no different. Yeah, that guy brings a certain je ne sais quoi to the matches, but at the same time, I mean, Jebediah, again, got to give the devil his due. He's a big guy, bit of a local favorite. I think he's going to manage to find a way to win.
And the Bruiser has that Hawkesbury curse. Of course, that's where he had his most famous table incident where, let's just say, the night didn't go so well for him.
But he became a star worldwide with that happening.
Yes, I believe when he looked in the mirror, he was seeing, because, like, let's look at this realistically. When he tried to do it the first time, even like a super long jumper could not have made that jump. Like, I don't know what he was thinking, but it was far too far of a jump for anyone to make. And then to go up and do it again without pulling the table closer, why would you be able to do it when you're even less tired?
I had a conversation with him. I think he told me that something like he had done this before. I don't know if he was having flashbacks to when he was young and in his prime, 40 years ago. I don't know. But clearly he was out of his mind and even thinking that was going to be possible. But, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. That gave us a great, memorable moment. I mean, when you think of Bruiser, can you honestly tell me that is not the first thing that comes to mind?
Actually, no, because I actually first met him around '96 when I was a kid, and he was the first professional wrestler that ever talked to me, so that kind of is what pops into my head when I think of him. But he did, you know what, in the end he broke the table. It was in a much less spectacular fashion, but he broke the table, and he's much better remembered and will be much better remembered than those two losers that he ended up beating that night. And let's go on to the next match here. Pretty boy Preston Perry, a good friend of the Bruisers, taking on Ryan Donovan, who I don't know too much about, do you?
I believe he actually used to be one of our officials in Great North Wrestling.
Oh, actually, yeah, he was an official at the last time we were on the big arena in Hawkesbury when I pinned AJ Styles twice in one night.
Yep.
Back when he was IWGP champion. That was in 2014. You're correct. He's gone on to be a wrestler since then. And I see on this paper here, he's from not too far away from Hawkesbury. So just outside of Alexandria, Ontario, which is only about half an hour from Hawkesbury. So he's the local boy going up against Pretty Boy Perry, who once defeated Bushwhacker Luke, WWE Hall of Famer. He's been in some battles with me. He's never come up on the winning end of them, but I will give him this. He's accepted matches again when he knew he was going to get beat up, so you got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely shows a good amount of temerity. For those of you out there who don't know what that word is, not that I'm judging the IQ of those listening to us here, but if you don't, feel free to look it up. Describes him to a T. And he has come into his own as a performer. I've never really ragged on the guy, but between you, me, and Lamppost here, it took him a long time to kind of figure out who he is and what he should be doing. And now, Platinum Perry, he's starting to make a name. He's starting to blaze a trail. Ryan Donovan, similar to that, a lot smaller, a lot less experienced, but he has been able to somewhat generate some kind of buzz around him by, I don't know if it's just by sheer force of wrestling as often as he can. I know he attends seminars. He's really, trying to become a student of the game. But sometimes, being a good student isn't enough to be able to overcome a seasoned veteran who's, in their prime right now at the highest point of their career. So, again, maybe I'm looking at this from a bit of a skeptical point of view, but I can't see Platinum Perry coming up on the short end in this one.
And, of course, we have to finish off by talking about the big retirement match of the Heartthrobs, who were featured in the Les Enragés de Ring television series that was on Ztele, and I hear some of the videos are up on Daily Motion if you search them, and they have a YouTube page with some videos that you're actually in there, Jeremy, if people want to look it up. But the Heartthrobs started their careers late. Steven of the Heartthrobs has been around the wrestling business for a long time. He's a manager in wrestling, and fabulous Jacques Lamoureux, has been around in recent years. But they're calling it quits. It's been too much for them. They have other businesses, very successful businesses to attend to, and they want to end off their career in their hometown against two people who have never wrestled in Great North Wrestling before, but their promo has had a lot of feedback. so much feedback that we finally had to disable the comments. The Crow and the Predator. The Predator's got to be about 6'4", 6'5", over 300 pounds, and the Crow is a Sting type of character that he's actually been doing a very long time. So two monstrous type characters who actually were involved in Jacques Rougeau's show that drew 11,000 fans over the weekend for Rougeau's big retirement gala that we covered, if you want to look it up, on the Hannibal TV.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking about two guys here in, I guess we'll start with the opponents here, the Crow and the Predator. You know, just hearing those names, you know, draws some interest here. The Crow, and he's kind of doing a bit of a Sting persona, as you described there. So to me, that's kind of like plagiarism on top of plagiarism, because we all know that Sting was plagiarizing the Crow.
Hey, you better watch your mouth. He's also going to be in the Battle Royal.
Yeah, okay. So that's good. So I can get the chance to tell him to his face then. So Sting was the original one who plagiarized the Crow from the movie, and so there was that level of it. Then in wrestling, even on a local level, you had the original Crow, which, believe it or not, was actually Dark Cash. If you don't believe me, the pictures are out there. Maybe this could be a little Hannibal TV mystery, but you can look it up. Dark Cash was actually the original Crow, and then this Crow came along as, I guess, the fourth generation of plagiarism. And hopefully, you know, no one...
So Dark Cash was the original Crow before the WCW Sting was Crow?
Dark Cash was the Crow, the local Crow.
Oh, okay.
So Sting would be the second one after the original movie one. I hope I haven't lost you people here in explaining this. And then Dark Cash assumed the persona. I even have a picture with him when I was a child. Maybe I might be able to dig it up and we'll have an exclusive. But him doing the Crow persona, which is now this person doing the Crow. And yeah, he's been doing it for a while. Very talented performer. Don't know too much about the Predator, but let's get away from them for a moment. Let's talk about the local boys who, you know, are doing a great thing by knowing when to call it quits. I mean, let's face it. We've seen them in the ring. They've given it their all. Clearly, they got into this a little bit too late. And you know how I feel about guys like that. You know, Grape Crusher come to mind, or K9, or guys like that.
Oh God, I wouldn't put anybody in the category of Grape Crusher.
Well, I mean, you know, these guys started old. Grape Crusher started ancient.
Although his promo before you retired him at Smith Falls is one of my favorite promos of all time.
Yeah, surpassed only by how much you liked the match that we had.
Oh, the belt part was my favorite by far. I actually watched it over and over. Usually, if I'm editing a match, which I believe I had to edit that match, I dread having to watch them over and over again. But for that section of the match, that almost made the match worth editing. Not quite, but almost.
But you see, Grape Crusher, he did a great disservice to the business by continuing to go out there and try to pass himself off as a wrestler. I mean, you know, in his hometown, okay, we get it. It's going to attract some attention. He's a politician, all of those things. But, I mean, you know, when it comes to going to this town and that town, Hawkesbury, you know, Kingston, whatever towns we're in, and stinking up the joint, I mean, no one wants to see someone past their prime, let alone someone who never had a prime to begin with and is already starting as a decrepit, curmudgeoned shell of a former self that never was. So... I
detect you still have some animosity towards him.
Well, you know, I have animosity to anyone who's going to waste hard-earned money that fans pay to see shows. I mean, let's face it, people want to see athletes. They want to see violence. They're going to a professional wrestling show. There's a certain level of expectation that is supposed to be met. Seeing a Grape Crusher or a K9 or these kinds of people in the ring is not meeting that standard. I don't care where you are in the world. So again, to that point, good on the heartthrobs to not continue to do a disservice to the hard-earned money paid by the fans to see shows. And if they want to go out in their hometown, I'm all for it. Maybe they can even go out with a win, but at least they're man enough to realize this is the end, win, lose, or draw.
Well, it should be very interesting. The crowd is going to be hot in that match. That's my prediction. It's going to be a tough battle for the Heartthrobs. I don't think they've been in the ring with anyone as big as the Predator. I remember their last match in Hawkesbury, a fan actually jumped into the ring and Bruiser took care of him. and we are going to have extra security this time to make sure nothing like that happens again. But that was also a situation where the dressing rooms were very far from the actual ring, so by the time news got back to me about the fan interference, it was long finished. But I would highly suggest no fan ever attempt to interfere in a Great North Wrestling event. It is very dangerous, and we will end up pressing charges against you to the fullest extent.
Yeah, I would absolutely hope that no fan would ever be stupid enough to want to get in the ring at any point in a show, let alone in my match or in your match or with anyone who's a seasoned professional at doing this, because you could be putting not only the performers in harm's way, but yourself as well. I mean, why would anyone want to jump into the middle of a fight? You know, it's pretty much a war zone in there. Look at all the things we've described throughout today's podcast. And why would any fan think that this is a place to be? Their place is on the other side of the guardrail to sit, enjoy the show, make a fool out of themselves if they want, do whatever paying for the ticket warrants them to do, but don't invade our space. Don't get in our ring.
No, and that guy did get off lucky, considering that it was the bruiser who, he's getting up there in age. He's still a very tough guy, but if that had happened in my match, it wouldn't have turned out so well, and yeah, there would have been ambulances called, and it would have been very bad.
Yep. Well,
so to finish this off, let me answer a fan question. I'll answer this because I get this all the time while Jeremy is on the line here, because he can confirm I'm not making this up and I'm not kayfabing this, and I'll just answer this very simply. I get this all the time. Are Lanny Poffo and Hannibal really friends? No, we are not friends any longer. That is legitimate, and I think Jeremy could confirm that.
That is 100% legitimate from everything you've told me. I mean, there's the source, there's the evidence. You know, I don't hold any ill will towards Lanny. I don't know why he soured on me. I can only speak from my perspective. I don't know why he soured on me. Maybe you people can tweet him or ask him. I don't think he'll really care to respond. You know, Lanny was good for, you know, a few laughs, a few great stories here and there. And, you know, I have a good amount of respect for him. You know, he may not like me, but I think he's an all right guy, and I enjoyed the time I spent around him. I can't speak for you, but I'm sure, you know, you and Lanny spent a lot more time together than I did, and, you know, had your own issues.
And I don't hate him. I am disappointed with him over him going against Macho Man's wishes, that he did not want to be inducted into the Hall of Fame unless his brother and father were also inducted. I'm disappointed in that, but that's not the reason we're no longer friends. But I wish him well. I have nothing against him. I just don't want to talk to him again, and he probably doesn't want to talk to me again. So we'll leave it at that. And for everyone, we highly suggest that you come to Hawkesbury, the Robert Hartley Arena, this Sunday, August 26th. Advanced tickets start at just $10. You can get them at the arena or ticketweb.ca, or get them at the door, $5 more. Ringside's only $20. Stands are $10 in advance, $15 and $25 at the door. They do sell alcohol at that arena. It'll be a good time. As the event starts at 7, it'll end around sometime between 9:30 and 10. And it's a great event. I highly suggest going, if for nothing else, to see my match, because it's going to be a phenomenal match. And I did have one kickboxing exhibition match back in June. This will be my second kickboxing exhibition match. And if all goes well, I'll be heading in that direction. So because I am one of the main people involved with Great North Wrestling, due to me heading in that direction, it's always going to continue, but the events might not be as frequent as time goes on, as I put my focuses on other domains while I'm still young enough to do well in other domains. But so I highly suggest everyone show up to Hawkesbury and subscribe to the Hannibal TV. We're on Twitter. I'm at Devin Hannibal on Twitter, and Great North Wrestling is on Facebook. We do have a Patreon website, patreon.com/thehannibaltv, where for the people that complain about YouTube ads during our full shoot interviews, or the people that don't want to watch all the clips and want to watch the full thing first, It's $1.99 a month. We post them on there ad-free right away, and you're helping us do more shoot interviews by doing that. Because everyone thinks that they're free. They're not. These people charge for them. Very rarely do we get someone nice enough to do them free. There's also production costs and travel costs involved. So by subscribing to that, you're really helping us out. But definitely be there Sunday. I'll let Jeremy tell us where we can follow him and why they should go see his match. My match, it's going to be very hard-hitting. It's going to be, I'm fighting a tough guy. Won't give him any respect other than that. And it's going to be an intense battle, and I will give him my all until the bell rings.
And likewise, in my match, there's no respect that's going to be given out. Any that is going to have to be taken from me, because I faced the Green Phantom many times before. I've been fortunate to find myself on the winning end, and I always manage to, almost like in fighting you, manage to find myself beat up and battered and bruised. But I know once it's all said and done that he's just as beat up and suffering just as much. So I'm going to do what I always do, and that's head out there, put a beating, put a hurting on whoever's standing across the ring from me, and make sure that you people get your money's worth in the level of violence that I deliver. It's not going to be something that's going to be PG. It's not going to be something that you're going to see on TV. I am going to go in there to win the match first and foremost, but if he happens to get severely hurt in the process, oh well, that's just collateral damage. So you want to see me be a man of my word and deliver on everything I've just said to you, and that level of violence and brutality, you should be there on Sunday. Let's face it, there's nothing else better to do in Hawkesbury on a Sunday night. So come see some wrestling, be entertained, and that's really all I got to say about that.
And it's our return to the big arena in Hawkesbury. It's going to be a very special night. For the local people, the end of the Heartthrobs, they are well known in Hawkesbury, and the spoiler is going to be the special guest referee for that match. He's another guy that was featured in the Les Enragés de Ring series that is also from Hawkesbury. So thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will be doing these podcasts every week. I'm going to have a different guest. We had Rene Dupree last week, and for Jeremy Prophet, he's been a guest in the past if you look in our archives. And if you want to know more about his career, if you search Jeremy Prophet full shoot interview on the Hannibal TV, you can get his full career shoot interview. And he's actually had a fairly interesting career up to this point, and it's just the beginning. I think the favorite story of everyone from that shoot interview is the Coco Beware. So check it out. And is there anything final you want to say to close this off, Jeremy?
I don't really got that much to say. Just, looking forward to the show on Sunday. I'd love to be back here on the podcast. Hey, maybe we can get me on with one of your other good friends. Maybe you can get me on with Superstar Billy Graham or something sometime.
I really have some bad news to tell people out there. He's not doing very well right now. So yeah, let's hope that we hear some better news from Superstar.
Well, I sure hope things go better because, he very much keeps me entertained on Facebook. I'll tell you that much. And
I actually stopped reading his Facebook posts because he posts these great pictures, and I'm so sick of... I love Superstar Billy Graham. I truly love him as though he is a grandfather to me. But I can't read this because he tortures himself watching wrestling on TV, and it drives him crazy. He makes these posts, and he posts these wonderful, rare pictures of himself, but then he mixes them with... the unfortunate stuff that he wants to torture himself by watching, but you can continue.
Well, no, I was just saying, no, it'd be great, we can get him on here, but unfortunately, I guess if his health isn't doing too well, I'd like to say, get well soon, Superstar. And, with that said, really looking forward to the show, really glad to have been here, and I hope I've given you people some insight and some entertainment. So to those of you that are on board the Jeremy Prophet bandwagon, keep on fighting the good fight. I'll keep on keeping it real and representing. And for those of you that don't like me, well, you know what? I love you guys too.
Thank you for listening to the Great North Wrestling Podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and subscribe to the Hannibal TV on YouTube for all the latest GNW news and videos. Follow at Devin Hannibal on Twitter and check out our website at thehannibaltv.com. GNW.com.